What's up, everybody? In this video, we'll be going over the main card for UFC Fight Night, Dariush versus Tsarukyan, and I'll give my picks of who I think is going to win each matchup. So we'll get on with it. First fight of the main card we have at middleweight. We have Punahele Soriano versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Stoltzfus in his last fight, we didn't get to really see a whole lot of from him and like where he's at, maybe how much he's progressed. He got finished in the first round, I think in like the first 20 seconds by Abus Magomedov. Soriano and Stoltzfus both are coming with a 1-2 record in their last three. I do think that we're gonna see a fairly even fight in this one. Um, Soriano did have his last fight against Kopilov, which I'm pretty sure it went into the second round, but he's a pretty formidable opponent. Not really um a loss that I would so much hold against him. The fight before that he had against Liang Bula, which he was able to let him tire himself out a little bit. Um, because he is a very heavy-handed striker. He let him tire himself out a little bit, and he was able to take over and get a TKO finish. And then the fight prior to that was against Maximov, which is another guy that's not like it's a red flag that he lost to, and it was in a split decision. So I think the talent that he's had in his last three fights and the way they've gone, I'm just liking them a little bit more as far as um, what we have from Dustin. Like I said, he got knocked out pretty quickly against Magomedov, got a decision win against Grant, and then he had a submission loss against Mearshart. So he, I would say Mearshart and Magomedov are two fights that we got to see him fight against um, some pretty decent guys. And in both of those, he ended up getting finished. So just off of that, rewatching their fights, I do think that we're going to have a closer fight, but I see Soriano pulling off and pulling away a little bit with getting a decision win in this, it going the distance. The next fight we have at lightweight, we got Clay Guida versus Joaquim Silva. Um, we kind of know what we're getting when Clay Guida um, is in the octagon. Starting to get up there a little bit in age. I'm surprised he's still around fighting, but good on him. He's still been able to be somewhat competitive, but I do see him in this fight just trying to get some takedowns and grind out some clock, maybe get some ground and pound in, and for the most part win the positioning battle. I do see Joaquim Silva being able to hurt Clay Guida on the feet. So as long as Joaquim Silva can keep this fight standing, I do see him being able to put a hurt on Clay Guida. And if he can do a really good job with it, with staying patient and not allowing himself to go to the ground with him in certain positions that may not be favorable for him, where Clay can kind of grab a hold of him and maybe be able to outmaneuver him on the ground and get positioning that he wants. I think as long as he can play it smart, he can stay patient, and come in with some pretty good takedown defense. I do see Joaquim Silva being able to even possibly get a TKO finish in this fight. So with that being said, I do think Silva in this training camp should be very prepared for Clay Guida's game, and I think he's going to be able to keep himself out of those heavy wrestling exchanges and allowing for clock to get grinded out. So I'm gonna go with Joaquim Silva getting the win by. I'm gonna go by a decision. I do think he can get it. I do think he can get a finish, but I think Clay Guida is gonna do a good job of being able to keep the ref just outside the grasp of calling the fight. So I'll go with Joaquim Silva, third round, or it's gonna Joaquim Silva, and it's gonna go to a decision, and Joaquim Silva is gonna get a unanimous decision in this one. On to the next one. We have at welterweight, we have number 9 ranked Sean Brady versus number 11 ranked Kevin Gastelum at welterweight. I um I see Kevin Gastelum with what he brings to the table. I think Brady's going to try to rely a little bit more on the wrestling and uh, grappling exchanges. And I think Kelvin's going to be able to make this fight the fight that he wants. And I think he could have a lot of success if he keeps this more on the feet. I think Gaslam's going to have a really big advantage with the striking, power and striking. He's just a tough dude too, so I think he'll even be willing to eat some shots, to give some shots. I think Kevin Gastelum gets the win by second round knockout or TKO. On to the next one we have at bantamweight. We got number 8, Rob Font, and he is going against who is making their bantamweight debut coming up from the flyweight division, former champ Deiveson Figueiredo. I think this is a very bad matchup for Figueiredo to make his debut. I think Rob Font's gonna be a little bit too lengthy for him. I think he's gonna start this fight off with really utilizing that jab, and I think from there on, it's just gonna get worse and worse for Figueiredo. I think Font's gonna take over the fight, and he's gonna put a hurt on Figueiredo. I think Figueiredo really he really benefited down in the flyweight division having that size. He was very big for that division. And I think that's why for most of his fights he was able to make it look as easy as he did for a lot of his fights. I just think this is going to be too much for him. I think again Rob Font's going to be able to piece him up standing. I think with now Figueiredo not being so big for his weight class, I think he's not going to be able to overpower Rob Font, even if it's taking it to the ground or with grappling. I even think Rob Font just has better grappling and wrestling anyways, even without the size difference. So I see Rob Font piecing up Figueiredo on the feet. I'll go with Rob Font getting the finish in the third round. Third round TKO win for Rob Font. On to the next. We have at lightweight, we got number 12, Jalin Turner, who's stepping up on short notice versus number 13, Bobby Green. I really do think that This is a good this is a good spot for Jalin. I think, yeah, there may be a little bit, and we'll see when the fight gets here. Maybe maybe Jalin Turner's been training and hoping for this scenario right here that just happened. His last loss, I think, was against um, Dan Hooker, which is who he's replacing. So he's able to get back into having a fight against a ranked guy within the same ballpark of competition, not having to fight an up and comer. He's gonna have the length in this one. Um, I don't think it shows their because it's so new. It doesn't show their measurements, but I do know that Turner's very lengthy, and I think the power that he possesses too. I think the only thing that happened in his last fight was he put a lot on Hooker early, and when he realized that Hooker wasn't wilting to the pressure and to the damage, I think he got a little discouraged, and I think that's where that shift and momentum happened, and Dan Hooker ended up taking over the fight. I think in this fight, I think Bobby Green's gonna try to play his, peppering and staying on the outside, but I think with the reach advantage that Jalin Turner has, I think he's going to be able to put that jab out there, really take over the distance game, and I think he's going to be able to put some damage on Bobby Green. Um, it is a 3-round fight, which I think also is going to lean towards Turner. I think Bobby Green would have had more of an advantage if he could get it deeper into the fight, if it would have been a 5-round fight. So I think Bobby Green's tough though, and I do think that he's gonna stick around the whole fight. But I think Jalin Turner the first 2 rounds is gonna be able to put enough on Green and put enough damage on Green that Bobby's not gonna be able to catch up. So I'm gonna go with Jalin Turner getting the win via decision. On to the next one we have as the main event of the night, we have number 4 ranked Beneil Dariush versus number 8 Arman Tsarukyan at lightweight. This one I've been having a little bit of a back and forth with. I feel like Beneil has all the tools to get the win in this one. The only thing I'm worried about is his last loss, how bad he lost, and if that's going to play a part on his psyche, and if he's going to be able to make that turnaround and if he's gonna be hungry, if he's gonna try to fend himself from Tsarukyan and then try to get another fight to maybe get another opportunity at a title shot. I just don't know. I don't know what kind of Dariush we're gonna get. It's just not a good sign. The last fight, how it went down. Is he starting to slow down? It's tough because it was against an Oliveira who, cream of the crop in that division. Dariush does have a win over a opponent that they both shared in Gamrot, and Tsarukyan lost to Gamrot. I kind of already know who I was going to pick going into this, but like now I'm starting to have a little bit of second thoughts on this, on who I'm going to go with. Like it's just a little bit difficult, and it's kind of crazy that even coming into this fight, Dariush is an underdog. But I'm going to have to go with Arman. I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan getting the win in this one. And I don't see there being a finish in this one. I think these guys go to a decision. I think Arman does just enough to get it done. I think he'll keep. Honestly, think he'll keep this fight standing most of the fight. I think he'll mix it up a little bit, but I think Tsarukyan chop up the legs of Dariush, and I think he'll have some good striking exchanges with them, and I think he'll be able to edge out a decision win. So those are my picks for this main card. We'll see how they do. I'm a little bit concerned with a couple of them, mainly being the main event. I'm a little bit iffy. I'm surprised Dariush is an underdog, but again, he didn't look too good in his last one, and maybe the Jalin Turner Bobby Green fight. I think maybe Bobby Green pulls up again and gets a little bit of a shocking finish. You never know. I mean, I was a little bit surprised with that knockout he had in the last fight, but I think Jalin Turner should be able to get it done. So those are my picks. We'll see how they do. Comment down below what you guys think, how you think some of these fights are gonna go, if you think they're gonna go different, and we'll see how these fights go. December 2nd, Austin, Texas. Well, that's it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.